The ANC in Gauteng is holding its provincial conference tonight after hours of delay. The event, or the gathering at least, was due to get off earlier today, but there was an issue raised around the Ekurhuleni region's 19 quarantined votes. Those 5 branches have since been allowed to participate in the conference. Let's get you a live update. Bring in our reporter Mbali Thethani, who's at the conference. Mbali, let's begin then with the issue of the Ekurhuleni branches and why they've now been allowed to participate.
Certainly, of course, Atemegile, we saw this conference when we spoke earlier to the ANC in Gauteng. They had said that their conference would be starting early and they would definitely be dealing with their credentials quite early so that they can have the ideas of this conference, of course, brought into here at the Lakes Hotel in Benoni. But it has indeed gotten off to a slow start, Temegile. We've only seen the proceedings only getting underway at around 4 o'clock this afternoon. Of course, we heard from the outgoing provincial secretary, of course, his name is Jacob Kawe, just telling us earlier that when it comes to the issues around Ekurhuleni, that seemed to be at the heart of the discussions taking place here. At some point, we know that the NEC was also involved, and this was then taken back to the province and trying to resolve this issue. But we understand it is indeed around those 19 quarantine votes from those 5 branches in the Ekurhuleni region. But just to give us a bit of more insight, when it comes to seeing this conference already getting underway, we are joined by the outgoing secretary. His name is, of course, Jacob Kawe. Mr. Kawe, we're finally seeing your conference getting underway. Earlier on in the week when we spoke, you had said that you're starting early to ensure that issues around credentials are dealt with, but it seems as if even that was not enough. But what is your status so far as the province, as things have already gotten underway?
Thank you. Good evening. We are excited that finally we have started. And yes, the bigger part would be the adoption of the credentials. The PEC took a decision earlier in the day on the branches of Ekurhuleni, and that had necessitated us to do registration of those branches, which delayed the credentials because now the credentials are a bit amended from what we had yesterday. The credentials committee, as we speak now, is sitting to clean up the credentials. We will present the credentials tonight, and it is our wish that we present all the reports tonight and that tomorrow we start the discussions and the elections.
When it comes to this conference, you've highlighted the issues around Ekurhuleni. We now know that those quarantine votes and those members and delegates from those branches will now be allowed to participate in this conference. Looking back, when it comes to the issues around their votes being quarantined, they were quarantined at the regional conference. They will then be again quarantined in this provincial conference. You know, one would say that why are you still continuing with this issue around quarantining of votes if it's really shown that it's quite problematic to seeing your conference getting on with the day's work?
We took this decision because all along the matter was dealt with national, and when it was given to us this morning, we realized when we were discussing that there's a lot of information we don't have. And secondly, that a bigger meeting like the PEC cannot be able to investigate and come back with a report. And therefore, then we need to have a process, perhaps of establishing a smaller team that will start engaging with the branches, engage with national organizing on the verification report, and discuss with the former RTT members. So there is information that we didn't have, and that information is the only thing that can help you to take a solid, objective decision. So outside that, we take a popular decision or take a wrong decision. So we thought we should take that process to next week. But what are the implications? That while we embark on a process, you shouldn't deny branches a right to participate into the conference, because they did at some point get a report that they were audited and qualified, and then later they got another report that disqualified them. So when we have not clarified those issues, you can't then deny them the right to participate in the conference. But equally, Because we have not cleared their status, you can't equally allow them to vote and add their vote. So we will continue to quarantine their votes until the matter is resolved.
And how important is the Ekurhuleni region to this conference? Also, how important are these delegates to the business of this conference?
They are equally important, like delegates in West Rand, in Sidibeng, in Tshwane, in Johannesburg.
Also, just lastly, I know that you have now been chucked out as the media inside the main plenary hall. What else can we expect throughout this evening? I also understand that you will also be presenting a report to the delegates. What else can we expect?
Tonight we're going to receive messages of support from the alliance structures, and then we're going to adopt the conference rules. Immediately after that, we present the credentials, and after the credentials, we then present the organizational report, which is going to be presented by the provincial secretary, and the financial report, and then we'll be done for a day.
All right, thank you very much. Of course, that is Mr. Jacob Kawa. He is the outgoing provincial chairperson, or rather secretary of the province. But Thembekile, as you would know, that it is a hotly and tightly contested election here of the ANC in this province, because we do know it is the likes of Panyaza Lesufi as well as Lebogang Maile who are vying for that chairperson position in this specific conference. But I know that it has been quite a difficult task for this team to continue to have this conference get underway. We heard from Jacob Kawa even earlier saying that they were locked in a meeting from as early as 7 p.m. last night to around 4 a.m. in this morning, trying to resolve the issues of this conference and to officially see it get underway. But we know that we now see the outgoing chairperson of this conference, David Makura. He has given his political report. There's also that report that will be done by the outgoing secretary. But of course, the conference does continue, but we know that these will all be under a closed session. And of course, as the media, we won't be allowed in. But we will continue to give you updates throughout the evening.
Mbali Thethani, thank you very much for that update from the ANC conference in Gauteng. Eskom